Hi, I'm Christine Cushing, and welcome to another helping of My Favorite Foods. Today, I want to help you on your quest for the ultimate chocolate chip cookie. What if I told you that with one batter, you could please just about any kind of chocolate chip cookie lover that's out there? Whether you like it soft and ooey gooey, crisp and buttery, or cakey all the way through, I got you covered. Get ready for the ultimate chocolate chip cookie. Chocolate chip cookies. I mean, what is it about the chocolate chip cookie? Everybody is bonkers about it. So I wanted to share this little exercise with you because I found it so fascinating when I went on this journey. So I got my stand mixer going, just a little bit of technicality. My oven is preheated at 350, that's a Fahrenheit setting. Let's talk batter. So first thing is we're gonna make one batter. And from that batter, we are going to make 3 different kinds of cookies, not by doing anything in terms of ingredients, but we're going to alter the baking time, I'm going to alter the temperature, and I'm going to alter the temperature of my oven as well. So those are the changes that are going to, you'll see, make 3 different styles of cookie. All right, let's get going. Ingredient number 1, butter. So what I like to do is do what's called in French, make the butter soften, but to the stage where it's called en pomade. Check this baby out. So this really looks like, pomade in French just means cream, almost like a face cream or a hand cream, but look at that. Okay, I'm gonna add that to my stand mixer, and I got the paddle going. Now, ingredient number 2 is the sugar. So I like to do this. I'm combining brown sugar and white sugar, and I'm going to tell you why. By the way, when you're measuring this, so this is called firmly packed brown sugar. You see how it holds that shape? When you measure, you want to just press right down, and it really will add a little bit more sugar than you think it's going to take. And this is a kind of a medium brown sugar going in. So that's the brown sugar, white sugar, and butter. Now we cream. So while that butter and sugar creams, here's the important technical aspect of this. Brown sugar and white sugar, they're going to react a little bit differently in this dough. But what's interesting is what I'm going to do later is going to change the texture of these cookies. So if you want a super chewy cookie, more brown sugar. If you want a more crisp cookie, more white sugar. But this is a combination of the two that I feel is going to give us the most variation, where I can actually work with it in the fridge and change the cooking time and all of that sort of stuff. So this part, very important. What I want to do is mix this until it's super fluffy. That means all of the sugar will be dissolved. Scraping down the bowl, super important when you're baking, and that really is going to make sure that all of that butter and sugar are dissolved and blended together. Butter and the sugars are creamed. I'm going to add 1 egg. All of these at room temperature is best. That way everything comes together at the same temperature. You're going to get a really nice blend that way. At this point, I'm also going to add my vanilla. Okay, vanilla's in, egg is in. Now I'm going to beat it a little bit slower. Okay, until that comes together, let me sift the dry ingredients. That's super important as well. Now, I like doing this on a sheet of parchment paper. I don't ever do it in a bowl because it makes it easier for me to then take my ingredients and put them right in there without wearing all the flour. So this is all-purpose and unbleached flour. That actually makes a huge difference. So I'm going to add it. Now I'm going to add my leavener in the form of baking soda and just a little bit of salt outside, because that's not going to go through. Sift. That sifting, you can see it caught a couple little clumps in the flour. It just aerates it, and it also removes any little particle that you don't want to be there. I always sift. What's the harm in sifting, really? Now let's talk about, why am I making this recipe for chocolate chip cookies this way? Because when I thought about making for you chocolate chip cookies, I said, all right, I have so many different ways of making it, so which one am I going to choose? And that's when I started to think nobody can agree on how they like their chocolate chip cookies. Some people like them soft. My brother, I'm going to tell you all about that. Some people like them crisp and buttery so that they crack and snap when you do that. Some people like them cakey. How do you solve that issue? So I thought if I could come up with a way that we just had one batter, but I kind of manipulated a little bit and you can get 3 different styles of cookie, wouldn't that be better than trying to come up with 3 different recipes? That's what I did. To me, this part is so important. Look at the color of that. I mean, it hardly looks like there's even butter in it. It's so whipped. It's like a super light, creamy color at this point, like a coffee color, because I whipped that butter and sugar super, super fluffy. Now, the flour and the baking soda are gonna go in there. I don't want to whip this too much at this point because now that I've added my flour, that's the gluten, that's that stretchiness. If I work it too much, the cookies are going to get tough. So I'm just working it until it comes together. Just because I'm making a simple chocolate chip cookie, don't think that chemistry isn't involved. Chemistry, that's the thing about baking. It's all about the chemistry. Sometimes you can do the same thing. I don't know, the atmosphere is different. The humidity in the room is different and everything changes. Chemistry in the baking kitchen is crazy. If you're not going to use unbleached flour, it will take a different amount. If you're using bleached flour, which I don't recommend, but if that's all you have, you're going to use a little bit more of it. And I can't tell you exactly how much because each recipe is different. That's the texture that I'm looking for. I just add my chocolate chips. Let me just say, the one thing you have to know about me, if you don't know that yet, is I don't like things super sweet. So this particular recipe only has 3/4 cup of sugar combined. I just find people make things way, way, way too sweet. So that's what I say, and I think it's the perfect amount. I'm gonna add my chocolate chips, and these are also bittersweet. You can use any kind of chocolate chips you like. This is a good quality, they're gonna go in. Chips are in. What do you think about walnuts? I don't know, for me, walnuts are the ultimate nut to go into a chocolate chip cookie. Maybe pecans, but those two are the ones that I would go to. You want some walnuts? Let's add some walnuts. What the hey? And I'm just gonna chop them coarsely. I don't want these too finely chopped. I would say that's a good sort of nice chunky piece. You don't have to add the walnuts, absolutely, or any nuts, by the way. So I'm gonna put those in, and then I'm just gonna blend it. All right, so my oven is set. Now let's talk a little bit about, this is cookie number 1. So this one cookie dough is gonna make us 3 different styles of cookie. The one thing that I'm keeping constant, so we can really manage that, is the baking sheet and the parchment paper. So that's gonna be constant for all 3 cookies. I don't wanna change too many elements because then I don't want us to get all crazy about that. Now my oven is set for 350 degrees. That's a Fahrenheit setting with the fan on. You'll notice also that the baking sheet that I'm using is this flat one that doesn't have a lip around it. That does also change what's gonna happen in the oven when you're baking. In general, you have to know that the shape, the material, all of that. But we're gonna leave this for another video. I just wanted to keep that constant and show you that this is the kind of baking sheet that I'm using. So when I was a teenager learning how to bake, struggling how to bake, let's put it that way, my brother would always ask me to make him stuff, chocolate chip cookies, he loved them. But seriously, he liked them so soft that it would drive me crazy, and I never wanted to make them like that. So I thought, why don't I just give him some batter and he can put it in the toaster? That's pretty much how he liked them. So for cookie number 1, this is gonna be for Nick, is I'm using 2 spoons and I'm just gonna drop it on the baking sheet without shaping it or using a scoop. So that's cookie number 1. Dropped, 350, convection or fan going in. Cookie number 2. I'm gonna take a little ice cream scooper, this is super cute. And I'm gonna do the same thing, only I'm gonna use this ice cream scoop and I'm gonna mound them so they kind of hold a little bit more of a shape. So this is a good way also to keep your cookies even in terms of size and weight. If you want to start a cookie factory, this would be a good tool to have. Okay, so that's cookie number 2. I'm gonna set this dough aside because the thing about cookie number 2 is gonna be the oven temperature and the cooking time. That's gonna change slightly. So I'm just gonna set these aside while those cook. Cookie number 3, going with the little scooper again. I'm gonna do the same thing as I did with cookie number 2, using my little scooper, keeping a nice shape. Okay, I needed one more baking sheet. These guys are going into the fridge for 30 minutes to chill. Chilling 30 minutes. Okay, cookie number 1. Of course, these are still hot. These are cookie number 1, 10 minutes at 350 degrees. So let me see what happens here. They're still a little bit tender because they're hot. But the key here is, what I did with these is I essentially under-bake them at a lower temperature that keeps them softer. So look at that. So this will firm up a little bit as it cools down, but you see how soft that is inside, and that's the key. So undercooking it, a little bit lower temperature, that brown sugar really helps. So I'm gonna set these aside to cool. Now I'm gonna bake cookie number 2, just as a little refresher in case you forgot. Cookie number 2 is exactly the same, only I used the little scooper and this dough is not chilled. What I'm gonna do now though is increase my oven temperature to 375. And let's see what happens then. Cookie number 2 is up. What happens here, because the temperature was higher and because I shaped them into those little balls, the cookie kept more of a shape and they're gonna be a little bit crisper because that temperature was definitely higher. So I'm gonna let these cool for a little bit. And now I'm gonna put in cookie number 3, which is in the fridge. Now remember I said I wanna keep the baking sheet the same, so I'm gonna transfer these to the same baking sheet, so we have that factor the same. And the only thing that was different about these is the chilling part. So 375, these are going in. We'll see for how long. Okay, cookie number 3 that was chilled. So this was such an interesting experiment for me because just these little changes that you make really do alter the cookie. Its texture, its crispness, its how does it feel inside, and even the look of it. So look what happens when you chill the dough. I'm surrounded by chocolate chip cookies. Who doesn't like that? All right, I want to show you what they look like inside because this is the whole point of this. So cookie number 1, soft. Cookie number 2, crisp. And cookie number 3, cakey. So look at even how they look. Definitely different. So cookie number 1, you can see it in the middle. Ooh, look at that big chocolate chip. That's soft and tender. Cookie number 2, which by the way, the crisp cookie, that's my cookie. It's crisp on the outside, you can see it, but tender inside. Oh, this is full of chocolate chips, so I want to taste this one. Crunchy, right? perfect amount of sweetness, so full of chocolate. That's great. Cookie number 3 is not the way I like it, but some people might like this. It's more cakey all the way through because it's mounded. So you see, when I cut into it, oh, look at that. It's definitely more cakey all the way through. What's your ultimate chocolate chip cookie? Soft, crisp, or cakey? This one recipe is your answer. Thanks for joining me on another helping of My Favorite Foods. It was super fun hanging out with you making chocolate chip cookies. Be sure to subscribe. Ooh, look what I'm about to have. Cookies.